Okay, all right, we're about to start the meat of our schedule, facing a very talented, very good LSU team, good mix of veterans, along with some extremely talented freshmen. Offensively, they've got two quarterbacks that can run their offense. I understand they're starting the freshman against us. We know a lot about him. We recruit him. He's a very talented young man. They have depth at running back. They have a veteran offensive line, and they got some receivers that can definitely hurt you in one-on-one situations. Defensively, they're giving up 13 points a game. I believe they got 7 starters back. Really, it looks like the same old LSU defense to me. I mean, they don't give you any cheap ones. They make you earn everything, and so we got our work cut out for us on the offensive side with that. Update on our injured players. The status is still day to day with the guys that got injured last game. We're hoping to get these guys back, for the game.
Questions?
Is it, with as many different running backs as they use, can you tell the defense to prepare for each one? Or?
They've used a lot of running backs in the past. That's just kind of what they do. They're all very talented. As far as looking at them differently, I mean, they're all very talented. It's really hard to distinguish, one from the other.
You guys any update on Jermaine Whitehead's status?
Nothing's changed with Jermaine Whitehead.
You allow him to, is the door open for him to come back this season?
I'm not going to go any further than that. Nothing's changed up to this point.
Coach, you talked about knowing a lot about Brandon as you recruited him. Talk about the relationship that you developed and what you like about him.
Well, first of all, he was a class young man. He is extremely talented. I mean, he's got an NFL arm. He can throw the ball from one hash to the sidelines, and he can run. He's a dual threat guy, so he's a definite threat.
Gus, is there any concern that on the passing game the ball hasn't gotten spread around more guys?
No, from time to time there's been a game or two that we spread the ball around a lot. And then of course as the season goes on, usually what happens is quarterback usually has a couple guys he feels very comfortable with, but I really don't think that's a negative. And there'll be games that we'll spread around, there'll be games that we won't, and a lot of it has to do with your opponent. A lot of it has to do with how they're taking away something, double covering a guy or something like that, but no, not concerned at all.
If Patrick Miller can't go, do you go to the offensive line lineup that you had on Saturday, or does Avery stay at guard and you move
We have a couple options, but we did end the game a certain way, but we do have a couple different options that we're looking at. Of course, we're hoping Pat will be back, and as we practice today and tomorrow, we'll know more each day.
Do you feel comfortable with where you're at as far as, I know you want to wear teams down, do you feel like you've been able to do that recently, wearing them down in the third and fourth quarter?
I mean, I think we scored quite a few points in the fourth quarter this last game. I think the big thing that we've been focused on is third downs. I mean, we just got to get better at our third downs to get our pace going and everything that goes with that.
Do you feel like the offensive line has really been able to wear defensive lines down in these games?
I think at times we have this year.
This is a young LSU team. Do you factor that in at all when you're preparing for them? Or?
Well, I mean, you can turn the film on, and if you didn't know year for year, it looks like the same old LSU team, and they're flying around. They have a lot of talent. Like I said at the first, I mean, they've got some veteran guys. I know a lot of times the freshmen, they're extremely talented, so they get a lot of attention, but they've got a lot of veteran guys back that if they didn't start, at least got to play last year. So they're a very talented team.
Gus, in your 2 times here, John Chavis and LSU have probably given your offense as much or more trouble than anybody. Is there something different they do, or is it just good players?
Well, they definitely make you earn it. There's no doubt about that. I mean, 2010 we played pretty well against them, and that's what we need to do. We need to repeat a performance like that. But the thing about it, they do a very good job of attacking. They make you earn it. So we'll have to do a good job executing all 11 guys.
Gus, struggled early to kind of go outside that first game really offensively. What are you doing to kind of maybe correct that?
Well, just trying to improve, our execution. We do have some new guys, that are here, new starters. And so, as a coach, even though we know a lot about our team, you still learn about your team the first few games. And we did learn some things. We learned some strengths and some things we need to improve on. And so from a coach's standpoint, each game you're just trying to give your guys the best advantage they can to get them off to a good start. And so we're still learning about our guys. We got 4 good games under our belt. We know a lot more about them than we did when we first started. And kind of like I've said, anytime you replace some offensive line and you mix and match, you move some guys around, it takes a little bit of time for those guys to gel too. Then you add another receiver in the mix, a new H-back, and so there's a lot of those factors that we still have a lot of room to improve. And, I think we're in a good spot to do that.
What time do you expect them to kind of get over that hump of being, news essentially?
Well, we're 4-0 right now, and we've been able to run the ball pretty good. I think we're in the top 20 in rushing in the country. And so we've got a foundation, and we got the opportunity to get better. And, that was our plan last year, to get better each week. We're ahead of that plan this year than we were last year. The positive is that we got a lot of room to still improve, and I think that's the big factor, from our coach's standpoint.
You've said that Duke offers a very different skill set compared to guys you've had in the past. When you were recruiting him against LSU and you had to answer some of those concerns about how you would get him the football, were you pointing to any one receiver from your past, or were you pointing to the total body of work of success in the passing game with a variety of wide receivers?
Yeah, I think anytime you're recruiting someone, you have a plan, you refer back to success you've had, whether it's individual player or just as a team as far as that goes. And, we've had teams where we ran the football extremely well. We've had teams where we threw the ball extremely well. And so it's kind of all of the above.
Talk about the importance of last year's game there, and especially the second half of that game down there.
Yeah, well, that was one of the defining moments of our entire year last year at halftime. I mean, we got embarrassed in the first half. They got after us real good, and not a whole lot was good in offense, defense, or special teams. And our guys decided at halftime that hey, they weren't going to shut her down. They were going to keep fighting, and we fought back and really gave us some momentum, for the rest of the season.
These last couple of weeks, what have you really liked on film, what you've seen from your running backs in these last 2 games?
Yeah, probably the yards after contact. We've had some good yards after contact. That was, what Trey was really good at last year, and Cameron Artis-Payne is really, getting to that point. And the other running backs, are doing a solid job too.
I know we keep asking about Rock and Peyton, but it was about this time last year you started shifting some focus and carries there. Any possibility we will end up seeing them on actual, some meaningful drives during the game?
It is a possibility. Like I've said in the weeks past, we've given those guys some reps with our first group, quite a bit. So when the time presents itself, I believe both those guys, can do the job we need them to do.
As far as Cam Tony playing H, is that something you're going to kind of explore more as the season goes on?
It's a possibility. We've not made any final decisions, but it is a possibility.
How long would it take for you to kind of get a grip for if you could help there this year?
That's a unique position. That there's a lot of thinking going on, and there's a lot of things that a lot of moving parts. But he's a smart young man.
I guess what to say that you're in the middle of the season essentially moving a defensive guy.
Well, we had some injuries. Gage Batten was a guy that got hurt early, and so it just says that we've had some injuries, and that's what you do. I mean, you try to look ahead, and anytime you move somebody, you're thinking about what's best for the team, and then you ask the individual, are you okay with doing this? And you're always thinking about if you have injuries in certain positions, and we had quite a few last Saturday, and so you've always got to be prepared from a coach's standpoint as far as your depth.
So I guess that was one of the situations where you guys actually approached him. It wasn't like Kyle Frazier did last year when he came in and said, well, hey, I'll move to receiver or defense.
Yeah, no, Coach Fountain just went to him a couple of weeks ago, would you be interested in doing this? And he said, I'd be glad to try to help. And he's got a great attitude. He's a smart football player, and he's a big physical kid.
You said last night that you have a bad taste in your mouth about the loss from last year at LSU, and you've called it embarrassing a couple of times.
Yeah.
Are you more personally motivated from losses or from games where there might be a little bit more personal issue, where it's an Arkansas State or an Arkansas or something? Is it the losses that motivate you more?
You know, I mean, you are motivated, big picture wise, but as far as your opponent, I mean, you can't get any more motivated than you already are. You know, for a game like LSU at home, you know, so the personal things, I mean, you use stuff to motivate you during the course of the year, but as far as this game week, I mean, us and them, I mean, everyone's going to be extremely motivated to play their best.
With Brendan Harris, obviously being a freshman, somebody you know, is there going to be more attention to maybe trying to pressure him and just get him out early and often, get him out of the game?
You know, we're going to have a strategy. We expect them to play both those guys. And we'll have a strategy for both, but they both look extremely talented to me.
Don't know if we asked you, did Ladarius Owens get a little banged up on Saturday?
I think he got a little banged up, but he finished and should be fine. I mean, there was a lot of guys that got banged up Saturday. I mean, it was a physical deal.
Gus, if someone had told you that 4 games into this season, you guys would already have more punt returns for touchdowns than you did last year, which was the strength of Chris Davis, would you have been surprised, or would you have been, I can definitely see that happening?
Well, I'd be excited about it. I mean, that was kind of one of our focuses. You know, we were very good at it last year. Quan's a guy that had experience. We just asked him to raise his level, and really it was pretty simple. Just ask him to go more north-south, and he's really been doing that. And he's got a lot of confidence right now. We've got a lot of guys around him that are busting their tail to stay on their guy, to block their guy. And, you know, like I said, you know, we had 5 freshmen out there on that punt return, true freshmen. So, I mean, I think that's a really good sign, you know, for the future, too.
Gus, do you intend to continue the same punting kind of, I don't know if rotation is the right word, but use both punters?
Yeah, at this point, I think we'll keep pretty much the same plan.
Anything else from Coach?
Yes, before the season, there was a lot of buildup from LSU of just so much talk about Fournette and Malachi Dupree, and Duke was the #1 JUCO receiver, but there just wasn't as much national attention. Was that partially by design, either by you or by Duke, to kind of keep him a little bit less in the national attention, or
No, we've not even thought through that. I mean, you know, we do our job here, and sometimes we're under the radar, but that's okay with us.
It seems like that Harris has a connection with Malachi Dupree, another talented freshman. Have you seen much from Dupree that has made an impression?
Well, you know, the couple touchdowns, you know, definitely. I mean, they're on the same page, you know, and you can tell they've worked together on their own, and they're 2 very talented freshmen.